Hey, what is up guys? FiTech back with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing the Xperia M4 Aqua, which has been my daily driver for the last couple of months when I got it as a birthday gift on the 10th of August. So if you guys want to know the exact age of my phone, calculate it. Simple. So this phone packs a lot in a pretty decent price for a mid-range phone. This phone is from 2015, but it's okay. There is a successor to this phone, the Xperia M5, which has better cameras as well as better internals, but I picked this one because of the cheaper price, because, it's a bit older. But it's still a good phone. So, starting off with the design and the build quality. The phone has scratch-resistant glass on the front. Not Gorilla Glass, it's just an ordinary scratch-resistant slab of glass. On the back of the phone, it looks like glass, but it's actually plastic. When you press on the back with a lot of pressure, not exactly a lot of pressure, a bit of pressure, you can kind of feel that the plastic is like warping, it's moving, which wouldn't have happened if it was true glass. The sides are plastic as well. However, they have a very slippery, metal kind of feel. The design's really not bad. It overall feels great to the touch, and it fits nicely in the hand. Oh, and the phone is IP65 and IP68 rated, obviously considering its Aqua name, which means it's also waterproof to 1 meter for 30 minutes, and it's also dustproof. So, on the top of the phone, you have the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is being removed from newer phones, but see, that's the benefit of having an older phone. And it also comes with a noise-canceling microphone at the top. On the left side, you have the micro USB port for charging and syncing at the top. Underneath that is the micro SD card slot. This supports expansion up to 256 gigabytes, which is freaking huge. Then on the right side, at the top, you have the nano SIM slot. Yes, nano SIM. The newer standard. The smallest one, nano SIM. Underneath that, in the middle, is the power button. It is the usual Sony-styled, metallic-feeling round power button. Right under that are your volume buttons. And again, underneath that is your two-step camera shutter button. Half press it to focus, full press it to full take a picture. On the bottom, you have your speaker and another microphone. On the front, top of the headphone, you have the earpiece, the Sony branding, your 5-megapixel front camera, as well as the sensors. Underneath those is the 5-inch 720p HD display. On the back, you have a 13-megapixel camera at the top with its LED flash, which gets really bright, by the way. Your NFC detection spot, Sony branding, and finally at the bottom, you have the Xperia branding in full caps. Next, let's take a look at the display, on the front, obviously. It is a 5-inch 720p HD display, which is 1280 by 720, and it has a pixel density of 218 pixels per inch. Since this isn't any of the higher-end phones from Sony, it doesn't have any extra bells and whistles, like there's no triluminous, for example. Now, it is an IPS LCD panel, so it has pretty good viewing angles. They're not the best, but they're not the worst either. They're okay. Colors are not the most vivid, as it is not a triluminous display. However, it still looks really good for normal use, as it has natural colors. If you have used any Samsung phones or any phones with AMOLED displays in the past, you will notice they have really, really super saturated colors and vivid colors. This one doesn't, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, since it depends on your taste. Some people like the saturated colors, some people don't. I, for myself, do like the saturated colors, however, I'm totally fine with this one not having it, because it still looks pretty natural and lifelike. The display gets pretty bright, however. You might have problems seeing the display in direct sunlight. It does get pretty bright, but just not good enough to see in direct sunlight. Another thing I noticed was that the display stays bright even when auto brightness is turned off, and the phone is at the lowest brightness possible. This can be a problem to people who tend to use their phones at night or in the dark. Well, if you didn't understand, let me explain it here. So, when you put your brightness level to the lowest, you expect a very dark display. But for some reason, even when you put the brightness at the lowest level possible, it's just not as dark as other devices. It's still set, it still stays pretty bright. So if you're someone who uses your phone at night or in the dark, it might cause a bit of strain in your eyes, but I think it's totally fine. It's actually pretty much, it's in the okay spot. It's bearable. Now, next, we have software and performance. The phone is pretty quick, but it stutters a bit pretty much everywhere. The phone has the Snapdragon 615 chipset from Qualcomm with an octa-core processor, which is also made up of 2 clusters of cores. Now, number 1 cluster consists of 4 Cortex A53 cores at 1.5 GHz for heavier tasks such as gaming, and the second cluster consists of another 4 Cortex A53 cores at 1 GHz, which is obviously for simpler tasks. It comes with the Adreno 405 GPU. It also has 2 GB of RAM for all your multitasking needs. And believe me, and trust me here, multitasking's really not bad. It's definitely really good. On paper, this sounds like the phone should be a really fast phone, but not really. It's fast enough for day-to-day tasks, so if you're going to be buying this for just a simple phone or even a work phone, it's totally fine. Gaming is also fine, but the phone sometimes becomes a bit slow at gaming. For like a few particular games, it becomes slow after a while of playing. And another thing to note is that the phone becomes very hot when doing intensive tasks, such as gaming for a very long period of time. It sometimes hits 50 degrees Celsius, which is really, really hot and uncomfortable to the touch. But don't worry, this will not explode like a Note 7, because I have used this phone in extreme conditions and have gamed on this for hours with a charger connected just to test it out. And believe me, it did get hot. Like 50 degrees was really the maximum. Otherwise, it hovers around 45 to 48 degrees, which is pretty good, if you ask me, so it's totally fine. The phone runs Android 5.0 Lollipop out of the box. However, the update to Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow has since been released in every region after the release of this phone. Unfortunately, Sony has confirmed that this phone will not be receiving an update to Android 7.0 Nougat. I feel like the phone is slow simply due to the poor optimization of the software. Most people have told me that the optimization in this phone, the software optimization, just really is not the best or that good, which is actually why the phone still kind of struggles while still having mid-range hardware. But then again, it runs software, Sony software of course, that is fairly close to pure Android, for example. For example, the notification and quick settings are the same as stock Android. The settings menu is the same as well, except Sony's custom icons, of course. The interface otherwise is Sony's own Xperia Home. Obviously, that's the name of the interface. It feels fairly quick and fast, offers a pretty good amount of customization, and looks pretty nice. It allows you to change the home screen fade effect, your icon size, and if you want to allow landscape orientation in the home screen, which is pretty okay. And that's not something that not every single skin on every single phone gets or offers. Now, let's go to the cameras. Now, this is actually a pretty important part of the phone because Sony's slogan for this is a waterproof camera phone. And I wouldn't really say it's the best, but for something a year old, it is definitely pretty good. Now, on the rear, we have a 13 megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture, so there you go. And autofocus is obviously there, because camera phone. And a very bright LED flash. It also records videos at 1080p HD. Shutter lag is there, and it does take some time to capture a photo. However, overall picture quality is good. I have a few camera samples for both the front and back camera at the end of the video, so you can check those out. But don't scroll just yet, okay? I want you guys to listen to the full review before you go ahead and check out the camera samples. And another thing, I will show the front camera sample first. After that, I'll show you the rear camera samples. And let's go to the front camera then. The front camera is a 5 megapixel shooter. It's pretty wide and selfies look great on this. I won't say any more about the camera. I'll let the pictures at the end of the video speak for themselves. Now, Sony advertises this phone as having a 2-day battery life. When I got the phone, I looked at the back of the box to check out the specifications, and it mentioned 2-day battery life. My first thought, I'll see about that 2-day battery when I put serious strain on the phone. And here's the result. With a full charge, I get around 6 to 7 and 7.5 hours of screen on time. And I don't think that's really bad. That's okay. I do use my phone a lot every day. I mostly use social apps such as Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, not just for you guys' updates, but I do have my own account as well. And don't expect me to give it out. My camera is also used a lot throughout the day, because I take pictures, and then again, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, they all use cameras. But overall, I would say this phone gives me a full day of battery with moderate usage. Not bad, right? A few extra things to note. If you're gonna buy this phone, make sure it's the 16GB variant. I ignored all the Amazon reviews and got the 8GB variant, and I regret it now. Out of the 8GB, you get around 5GB. And downloading all my social apps eats up around 3GB, considering how big Android apps have gotten over the years. A few more productivity apps and a few media apps such as VLC, and I actually have a few widgets, custom widgets that I use, so there you go. They eat up the rest of it. And when you actually come close to the end of your SD card, your internal storage space, you'll get a notification saying transfer data to SD card. What do? I put my SD card in. Obviously, I do have an SD card. It's a 32GB. I transfer all the apps and everything else possible from the phone to the SD card, because not all the apps will be able to be transferred to the SD card. And again, as I said, it does allow you to transfer a few apps to the SD card, but that doesn't help, considering not every single app can be transferred. But, however, now, if you're going to be doing very basic tasks like social networking and a few basic things, as I said, just like me, social networking, maybe some office stuff, because this phone does come with a built-in office suite, and maybe productivity, media consumption a tiny bit, some gaming too, then I think you'll be just fine. But you must have an SD card to store all your photos, music, because you can't keep them on your internal storage. Because I think I'm doing the best use right now, because my internal storage houses all my apps, and my SD card houses all my extra stuff, like my photos, my music. Every single photo I take is being saved on my SD card, which is still great, because in that case, if I ever get a new phone, I just take my SD card out, put it into that, and boom, I have all my photos, videos, music on that. I just need to download the apps from the Play Store, and boom, I got a fully upgraded new smartphone. And yeah, again, that's what I do. All my stuff is on my SD card. Only my apps are on my internal storage. Another thing, as I said in the beginning, I'll show you guys the front camera samples first, and then I'll show you the rear camera samples. And again, how do you know those are the front camera samples? Because they're my selfies, so as long as you see my face in them, you know those are the front camera samples. Out of that, I'll show you guys a few macros, and about 6 samples I have for the rear cameras. So again, as always, thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, then give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you loved this video and want to watch more of these, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.